All right, so doing a mock draft Monday on a Wednesday. I was going to do it yesterday. I was going to wait for the Browns and Broncos and see how that would possibly impact the draft order, but I don't think it did anything. And then yesterday was just a little bit too busy, so here we are on Wednesday, a couple days late. I apologize, but we can still get to it. And it was actually kind of worth holding on because we did get a notable update from one of the top tackle prospects. Although he is a senior, I think he's out of eligibility and he got injured, more than 5 or 6 games into the season. So anyway, Josh Simmons is now entering the NFL draft. Again, I think he was going to do it I think he had to regardless, but that's a verbal confirmation that he'll be in there. Solid offensive tackle. I have him at about the 4th best tackle in the draft. Plays left and right, transfer from San Jose State to Ohio State, tore up his knee. I believe it was his left knee when he's a left tackle, which is a concern. I've looked around. A lot of people still think he's going to get drafted in the first round. Obviously, the Patriots really can't take a chance at that this year, obviously, taking somebody that's injured, major knee injury at a position where you really can't afford a knee injury. And timing-wise, I think when he had it, and I figured, a pretty quick turnaround for surgery, I had him tracked as best as maybe having a shot at being ready to start practicing full speed, maybe around the start of the season, and obviously wouldn't, go right out into the fray there. So it's somebody you'd have to kind of accept probably won't be ready for the first month of the season or so. Considering the Patriots' current roster and the fact that Mayo and Wolf definitely need this offseason to be a home run and really can't afford the first half of the season to be a disaster, I suspect they're probably going to avoid Josh Simmons in the first or second round. That would be my thought. So I don't know if he will even get to the third round, that's where I would start to consider getting him, just because he can play left and right at a high level. And there's obviously the demand for offensive tackles far outweighs the supply. Now, why is it still important for the Patriots if they're probably not, well, we don't know, but in my opinion, not going to go after him? Well, it's adding to the supply. So somebody who is looking for a tackle, even if they do take, you might want him, but if someone takes him in the first round, you're like, well, that's a little bit too much for me. But at least you're saying, hey, the person that wants an offensive tackle, I want to get him in the third, maybe now we can really, get a shot at somebody that might not be there, that we were maybe hopefully be there in the second, will actually be there now because Simmons was taken in the first or the second or whatever. So it's adding to the supply and increasing the likelihood of the Patriots actually being able to get a decent offensive tackle in the first 2 days of the draft. Of course, they could go with one in the first round in the top 10, and this wouldn't matter anyways. But anyway, that is a significant update. Now, this is the 4th video, right? This is the 4.0. I keep putting that in air quotes because it's not a real mock draft yet, right? Because, again, we don't know where the Patriots are actually going to end up in the draft. We don't know what they're going to do in free agency. And we don't know if all these guys that are eligible for the draft will actually declare, right? We're starting to see a lot of them now that the seasons are wrapping up for a lot of these teams. They're saying, hey, I'm coming back, transfer portal, blah, 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 or I'm declaring. We'll see it. It's going to be clear in the next couple weeks. That's going to be big. And then obviously we have to wait for bowl games and playoffs before we really see what comes out and finally really truly puts in the papers for the draft. So that being said, just like I've said in all my other videos, it's not a true attempt at a mock draft. It is having a discussion about what could be available in the draft and what are the trends, primarily, what are the trends we're seeing from the Patriots this season, right? What are we seeing from development? What are going to be is there any development? What position groups need the most help, right? And also, what does that match up with the potential draft class, eligible players? So that's where we're at. Now, real quick, I do this weekly because now I'm doing it weekly because we're getting close to the end of the season and we should start seeing some stratification, right? Or at least some separation between priorities. Because in general, my outlook is, hey, we need to draft the best available player, right? I know a lot of people don't believe that that's an actual thing, but in terms of a draft, actual day of the draft strategy, right? That you have to have some indication of who you like and who you don't. But when you're trying to come up with a priority list, it's with the way the roster is built right now. It's a little bit, obviously it's a lot more complex than we don't need this, we don't need that. It's obviously because you have to think about free agency, future drafts, which I think a lot of fans don't think about, or just the strength of the overall draft in general. How quickly certain groups drop off. There's a lot of those other dynamics that you need to think about. But if you look at the Patriots roster right now, the reason why I say it's like a best available draft this year, it's because honestly, just about everything needs an upgrade or significant depth, right? Obviously, Drake May, Gonzo, I would put Barmore in there. A few other guys that, at least move the priority a little bit further down, their position a little bit down on the list. But if you have a shot to upgrade almost every one of those positions, you just got to go for it. They are a relatively young roster. But if you have a shot at getting a starting level player at any position at this point, you do it. Now, of course, there's a kind of a hierarchy, in which I keep pointing to a cheat sheet that I made I think it was last year. That obviously there's like more draftable positions, right? Higher valuations, and the reasons why you want to draft them, get them in the draft. Doesn't mean that you don't value them on your team. It's just the best way to. Probably the more efficient and what's economic way of upgrading the team at that position is through the draft, right? We've gone through that. It's obviously quarterback. Your second one's your corner, so we got those. 1, 2, right? Drake, and you got Gonzo. Next is wide receiver 1, so a nice solid big X alpha X receiver. We don't have one, so that's an actual missing spot on the roster. Next, primary edge rusher, which we have some edge rushers, but we don't have somebody that actually brings it home, right? Somebody that you go out there and you're like, that guy's out there to just wreak havoc. Doesn't matter where he is, left, right, middle. His job is to get to the quarterback, put pressure in pursuit, right? We don't have one of those. We have Keon White, who's, I like how he plays as an edge rusher. Dietrich Wise is obviously a talented and seasoned vet, and Terrell Jennings brings his style to the edge. We don't know what Tyus Leo can do yet, and obviously Ox. Hopefully, I don't even know what happened to his knee, but hopefully he heals up. But that gives you some depth there. But that like true, that's a problem. Edge rusher missing. So we're looking at the third and fourth missing. Next would be left tackle. Now Vidarian Lowe, I'm going to go back and forth with anybody on this, is not your weakest link on the offensive line. If you have a shot to legitimately upgrade that position, you can do it, right? And after that, it actually goes to corner, your second corner. So Alex Austin's all right. I mean, Marcus Jones is great. I think he does a really great job for where he is. He's a great D-back. I like how he can play, on the outside, and he's obviously probably better suited for the interior on the nickel. But that like comparable solid second corner, if Alex Austin, who looks decent, I would say he at least makes it less of a priority. But if you can get a upgrade at that position, you got to do it. And then it goes to free safety, then tight end, right tackle, wide receivers, then towards the linebackers, D tackles. Anyway, point being, we don't go very far down this list before we start running into, not only do we not not only should we try to upgrade at that position, we don't even really have like somebody that you say is your primary wide receiver, X alpha 1 wide receiver. And those guys don't grow on trees in the first place, but we don't even have like really a big bodied X receiver in the first place. And then after that, speed, primary edge rusher, a Leo, really somebody hopefully that can play not just like, a defensive end, only third down rusher, but somebody who can probably play a little more three down player. Now, if you ask me what I'm seeing in terms of trends, I'm sorry I'm talking so long. I've been in full support of Tech McMillan because of his size, ability to dominate at the catch point, End zone target, which still is for some reason a major problem with this offense. I mean, it's great to be able to move the ball, but actually the Colts game would be a great example, even though it's mostly due to penalties. But you start getting that like 25, 20-yard line, and you don't have to be like within, something in goal. Like you can be kind of in that orangish red zone, and you have a big body receiver that can just, throw the kill shot in there. We can't really do that right now. Hunter Henry's your best end zone target, and he's great at it, but it's obvious who you're going to be throwing to. And now everybody, once in a while, you get somebody else who gets open for some, scheming reason, but you need somebody who can just get open because he's big target, can outcompete, leap, catch, good strong hands. Tech McMillan's that guy. He can do it. Now, there's other guys in the draft that are it's actually not that bad for big-bodied X, but in terms of skills, talent, and his tape, also, if you do some digging, seems like a solid dude, too, which is important to me. But then the other thing that's really egregious to me is not having that, again, I keep going to that primary edge rusher. Somebody that can play just about left and right, doesn't matter where he is, he knows how to get to the quarterback and put pressure immediately on the quarterback because he's coming fast, so it makes the quarterback speed up. Even though he might not get there, he knows he has a limited amount of time before he does. Eventually, he'll get to you. And then if you scramble, you're opening yourself up to his pursuit. That sort of guy is the disruptor. We have that issue. That guy's also just completely missing. So at this point, I have a strong feeling, and I think everybody's been talking about it, and considering their cash position, or I shouldn't say cash position, their market cap. I keep going to my work. Their cap position, how much space they'll have, cap space, there you go. They should be able to afford just about any receiver that gets out in the market. That's, everybody goes T. Higgins. I'm a little reluctant about T. Higgins because of his injuries. The guy pulls a hamstring. The guy just shows up on injury reports on Wednesday, Thursdays. It's just what happened? Oh, he's hamstring or whatever. It's is this really a thing? Is he really injuring himself this much? Is he that incapable of handling bumps and bruises? Or is this more of we're putting him on the injury report because the guy just doesn't really want to cooperate? Either way, whatever that may be, it just seems like the guy is just always not playing. And when he does, he's out there and he's trying. He looks like he's legit. He's that guy you're looking for, that big, high point, big X receiver. And he's still young too, so I don't know how much he's worth. It doesn't really matter anymore because those prices just keep going up. So if you can sign him for the highest paid wide receiver next year, if you don't, you're going to be paying even more in probably a few years anyway for somebody else that might not be as good. So I'm not against it, and especially if there's some sort of, maybe if there's a trade scenario that you can get somebody else, but we'll see. But point being is now that's kind of moved me towards probably targeting an edge rusher in the first round or second round. So that being said, let's get into it. And that's probably making a lot of people pissed off because I'm not going after a tackle or I'm not going after Tech McMillan. For those who want to have an issue with who I'm picking, I've already picked Tech McMillan before. I've already picked Banks, Campbell. Who else have we done? Will Johnson, have done that. We've done most of your top blue chip talent in this draft has been a first round draft pick. This is going to be what? This is our fourth one, so we're looking at I do a 2 to 3 mock drafts per video, so we're in double digits. Whatever scenario you think I should be doing, trading back or what, I've already done it. It's already been done. The names might be different, but the idea and the concept of the players, the position, the strategy's probably been done. So don't get all aggravated by me doing this. So let's get started. Now, the first time through, I always just do it straight with the picks we have. The second time through, I will entertain some trades. So I'm going with Abdul Carter. Now, why Abdul versus maybe somebody else in the second or third round? Abdul Carter, prior to the season, 2 years is playing an inside linebacker at Penn State. So he's a legitimate 3-down back or 3-down linebacker edge player, right? So he's not just come out on third down and just go get the quarterback. He's operable at both levels. Obviously, up on the line, in the box. Obviously, off-ball linebacker can play those things, and obviously is also a great edge rusher in himself. So that's fine. I'll take him. This one, Ursary versus Milam. I think Ursary's upside's probably a little bit better. Wyatt. I think Ursary's probably. I like Ursary a little bit better. I have to keep watching Wyatt. I'd really like him. I would love him in the second. I think he might even have a shot being the first round draft pick. So there you go. At this point, I think Takaro Davis is easily a fringe first rounder. Same thing with Denzel Burke. Actually, let's before we move on, let's see how many good. So I wouldn't mind picking one of these guys. One of these. Thomas, I'm not so big on, but Davison, Jamari, and Zai Alexander. Jabbar's more of a slot guy, but 1, 2, and 3 definitely at 83. The question is between Takaro. See, Takaro's like 6'4", and he can come up and he can tackle. He's not a liability out there. Let's take a look at wide receiver. Obviously, that's our next big. Okay, so they're already gone. See, so there was a rush on them. Sorry. But I wouldn't mind going after 1, 2, 3, and Dane Key if he does come out. This grouping right here would be great at 105 or 142 even. So let's go with the corner. This would be a big. I think if you had a shot, I think he's coming out. Yeah, so I'm gonna go with him. I really like him. I haven't got around to doing my video on him yet. All right, so do we go wide receiver or is there something? Oh yeah, Xavier Watts. There's your. There. I would like to get Gray Zabel there, but I'm going Xavier Watts. I'm gonna stick with him. So that really opens us up for some mostly offense for the rest of the way, minus maybe 1 D tackle. Patrick Payton again would be really nice. So I was a little bit wrong. Now taking Takaro, but look, we're still able to get Zai or Davison at 105. All right, let's take a look at interior offensive lineman. Charles Grant, that's not bad pickup too. He can play. He's a tackle. I don't know why they keep putting him at interior offensive lineman. I really like him. But maybe he can play some interior. What's interesting? Yeah. Finding a guard here. Jaden Roberts is legit. Obviously, Jonah can play interior. He can play tackle too, and he's a center this year for USC. That wouldn't be a bad pickup at 142 or 220 if he still survives at 220. Oh, Belton's still around. Ooh, that's tempting. Embo is also probably going to be a guard. All right, I have to think about this one. The fact that Belton's still around. Travion Henderson would probably be best available right now, in my opinion. There's probably Patrick Payton and Henderson, and then Marcus Embo, and then these guys. There's still some quality guys at 105, which goes to my saying of like, hey, maybe we have to consider taking best available. Nick Singleton, is he coming out though? So I'm going to take a chance and probably try to get a receiver here at 142. Let's take a look at tight end situation. Gadsden would be a big pickup. He's really a wide receiver. Mitchell Evans at 220 would be a big win. And Eli Stowers, again, another like joker, essentially just a really big wide receiver. So I think we can probably still push. I'd take Terrence Ferguson. I'd take any of those guys. If any one of these guys at 200. So I'm going to stay off on tight ends for the time being. It's hard to pass on Travion Henderson, but have to. The only thing I'm thinking of is that, like, hey, are we going to really mess up not getting another offensive lineman now? Next year, like I said, I haven't really said too much about this, but next year's offensive tackle class, it's kind of similar how this year started off. Like, you got 2 guys, definitely first-round talent next year. A few guys after that could easily bleed up just because of the need and maybe some improvement. But it's not like a couple years ago we were like, oh my gosh, you're like, look at all these offensive tackles that could be first round. And it turned out that way. But it's like this year might be, there's a decent amount of tackles in the draft. It's just when you get them, right? And then there's, of course, going to be a bunch of them that get, drafted a lot, overdrafted. But next year is like, I'm not sure going into the season that there's really going to be more than like 10 guys that are draftable. It's kind of like, it's like Gonzo's year, where you got like a decent amount, but oh man, does it not look good after that first round. I'll stop talking. So the question would be, do we get Marcus, and under the assumption that he can play some guard and some tackle? Travion Henderson being one of the top running backs, but man, I just don't. You know what? No, we're holding off on that. I don't want to pull the trigger on it. It's gonna have to wait. I think I'm gonna go with Belton here, or Charles Grant. Belton probably could play a decent guard if you have him in there. He might even do that too. But so is Marcus Embo. All right, let's do Marcus Embo. I think that's a good move. He can play some interior offensive line if need. I think, again, that's where I think a lot of people see him. I think his length isn't great, but definitely his play style is, like, how would you say, combative? All right, so who do we want more? Assuming we get T. Higgins, I'd probably want to go with Ty Felton over Higgins, or Jaden Higgins, or is actually, let's just go to wide receiver. Yeah, so to me, Ty Felton's a little bit more dynamic in his route running, so I'm gonna go with him. That was a good pick. Jack Betch, I'm doing something on him. He's actually an interesting slot guy if you can pick him up. I mean, 146 is probably a decent spot for him, but if you can get him a little bit later, played a little tight end at LSU. He's built for it too. He's very sturdy, can take a hit. So the fact that we have Pop out there, but I just not always liking Pop going in there and getting kind of the over the middle tougher hits, considering his concussion history. And it's nothing against him. It's just that like his best thing is not to be hit right away, right? You got to throw it to him so he can get open, and then he can start making moves and make people miss because he can see them coming and can move them. Ooh. So I was hoping we'd find some D tackles here, but Jonah would be a smart move for the center and guard situation. You know what? No, we're going with Luke. There's your tight end. So that leaves us what? Still need a D tackle. Riley Mills. Okay, so Zane Durant would probably be. Well, Riley Mills is more of your big body. He's like 6'5" over 3. Zane Durant's like 5'2", 5'3", but is very dangerous Aaron Donald type situation. Maybe not. He's definitely not as thick, but like the fact that he goes in there and he just causes trouble. Another guy here. Where is he? Davin Van is very similar like that too. Same thing with Andre Jefferson. A lot of guys down here. Eric Gregory's a good D tackle. Let's take a look again. Sorry. Overall, I like this guy. He can play a variety of positions too. 1, 2. He's a good linebacker. We have Abdul though. David Walker's a good linebacker as well. And I say linebacker because that's what they play line, like they're off ball, so like they're not down, hands down. They're not even like wide 9 guys too. Oh yeah, Khalil. So this makes it pretty hard. I'd like Jalen Noel too. too many. It's actually just, it's a problem of just too many. It's a target-rich environment here. I'm going to go with Riley Mills. Yep. Big time, big body, big D tackle. Plug up the middle. Just in case Godshaw can't hold it. Or if Quali's finally done. And then we'll get Khalil Mullings, Boston kid, running back. All right, so getting the edge / linebacker, the twofer, both of them, him as a linebacker would have been first-round draft pick. Him as an edge rusher would have been first-round draft pick. So that's allowing me to not have to go after a linebacker and also just stick with an edge rusher. Good pick. There's somebody that can definitely add depth at that corner, probably be a starting corner this year. Xavier Watts would probably be a Hawkins replacement. Definitely more of a ball hawk, deep free safety. I'm starting to think it might be time for Duggar just to be labeled as essentially as a line. He might be safety on the depth chart, but his primary use might just be playing in the box, which majority of his snaps are there. It's just, can we get somebody else that's got the athleticism to really be out there in coverage? Because we got Peppers, you got him, then Mapu's in there. There's plenty of guys that can come up and play in, up close, and they're okay in coverage. It's just, can we get a guy that just has that safety instincts in coverage? And Xavier Watts, in terms of athleticism, 100% there. I watched Notre Dame a decent amount of times. I don't see him make any egregious mistakes. Not that I watch every snap, but it's not. I mean, it's obvious to me that he's at least got some decent football IQ. The one I'm kind of like on, there probably could have been a lot more opportunity, would be Marcus Embo. I like the pick because, again, well, I think a lot of people think he'd probably be a great guard. I see it. But then also, I think he's got the build for the most part to still play some tackle. So, it's not he's a tackle that is, I got him on the idea that we need to at least get another legitimate big body guard and battle that out. And if at the very worst, he's at least a depth tackle. And for everybody's going to say we spend too much time and money on guards. The left guard is still the issue. And I know Cole Strange is coming back, but it's possible that he's going to have to play center. We don't know if David Andrews is going to really come back 100%. We don't know how much time he has. Ben Brown, I like the guy. I think he's worthy of a slot. I know we have Jake Andrews as well, but, I just don't know at what point is Cole Strange going to have to probably step in at that center position. And Lane Robinson, everybody, he had a good game. He had an okay game. It's I guess his best game, quote unquote, but it was still not good. Lowe did his best to work with him on that, but it just seems like that left guard is just where they're going after. They're testing whoever's there because it's obviously the weaker spot, and on top of that, it's the one where it's just being interchanged so much that it's this weakest point, and they just keep blasting in there. Anybody else? Yeah, Ty Felton, already covered him. Lachey, good, all solid Iowa, all service tight end. I know we have Hooper still there, but I need somebody who can block, and he can do it. So not only is he a decent receiving tight end, but he can block as well. Injury last year that probably set him back a little bit. Riley Mills, big time nose guard, but he can actually, I shouldn't say that. He can play a variety of alignments. So but he's a big dude. And then Khalil Mullings, I don't know. I mean, getting him at 241 is just a massive steal at that point. And considering the running back class, picking somebody up that would probably be an early day 3 pick, if not late day 2 in most drafts. Yeah, it's just easy. Plus, on top of it, he's from Boston, right? So, always like that. All right, let's do one more when we do a little bit of trade back scenario. Or at least entertain them, right? What would happen if we make a decent move back? Okay, here we go. Maybe. I don't think it's... I don't like that enough. That's the only thing we got. Well, you know, let's go for it. Let's see what happens. It's not a good one. I wouldn't accept that, but... What would be available if we traded that far back, right? Assuming maybe we get another first rounder next year or something like that. Wow. We get almost a better deal for moving back a few more spots. But let's just... Ooh. Would there be... See, at this point... Yeah, this grouping here is solid. I like Kenneth Grant, too. He's a beast. Luther Burns still on the board. But the thing is, what I'd say is that all these guys that are here, I don't see a big separation between their value, right? So to move back 4 more spots, it's not like we're gonna in 5 or 6, like 3 spots we're gonna lose a lot of value. The 89 is definitely worth the spots, and then everything else is just gravy. So let's just do it, and then plus we'll get a few more picks. We can talk about some extra prospects here. Or Abuka or Ursary. Well, you know what? Ooh, that's tempting too. That's really tempting. I like Amika. He's a football guy. Nothing but positive reviews about who he is as a person. We're gonna lose. Cam? Do we have Cam? I'll take Cam. We need a right tackle anyway. I know we have Kane Wallace, but if Kane Wallace is... How about this? If Kane Wallace is better right tackle and Cameron Williams is like the understudy for left tackle or right tackle, I don't care. Give me a good right tackle. Oh, wow. So I'm going to go with actually an interesting one here. I'm going to go after Jihad Campbell. Although J.D. Barron's pretty good, I'm going to go after Jihad here. Because he actually offers pass rush despite being labeled as a linebacker. So kind of probably a better linebacker than he is an edge rusher, but it's kind of similar to Abdul. Oh, Trey Amos being available. Thank you. I think I'll still go with Watts because I don't want a chance. Yeah, because I can go after Patrick Payton later on. I'm going to go with Watts. Again, just to get that, like, decent, solid free safety. I shouldn't say he's like, he's just a general safety. He can play everything. Ooh, Jordan Birch versus Embo. See, he plays edge. Now, he's on D-line, but he's mostly D-end. 6'6", nearly 300, but the guy moves around. He's even playing some upright linebacker. It's crazy. That was last year. This year, he's almost entirely on the line, though. That's probably why they have him here. He might have even gained weight. Patrick Payton's the edge rusher, though. That guy's got some long arms. He's like 6'5". I think he's like 260, 270, but he looks like he's like 240 the way he moves. Moving over Membo is hard, though. Because they have, again, I keep pointing this out, they have him as interior offensive lineman. He plays right tackle for Missouri. The only thing that, I would agree that he probably has better opportunity as a guard because he's like 6'3", but he's kind of like the fact that, like, Onwenu, who's like 6'3", 6'4", he has these super long arms. Now, he's lighter than... he's not exactly built like, because Big Mike's Big Mike. But, again, it's kind of like if you can think... He's very athletic. So, he's able to... Even though he's not 6'6", he can play out there. I think he's better at the guard, just like how we think Onwenu's better at the guard. But it's not the worst to have guys that can play multiple positions. And he's playing... tackle it at the SEC, so he can definitely do it. Birch, Peyton, or Membo. This is hard, but I think I'm going to have to go with Membo. I like Jordan Birch, too. They're not moving. What just happened? That was weird. We still got him. Jeez. All right, let me take a look at D-line. Yeah. I think Birch is probably the way to go here. Because he can play some D-tackle. Edge, I'm actually not... Like, yeah, okay. We'll go... I mean, I like Patrick Payton, but I'm going to go with Birch here. At 142, there was some... Yeah, they're not going anywhere anyway, even if I want to get another one. All right. Josiah Stewart that high, huh? David Bailey's an interesting one, too. He, like I said, he can play some linebacker. I'm going to go with the Danny. Oh, Gabe Akis. I forgot about him. Damn. Could have held off. Oh, whatever. It's not a big deal. We got plenty of picks this time around. All right, so back to... Probably, considering what we have left, not going to go after running back yet. We have a linebacker. Wouldn't mind getting Ty Felton again. Lander Barton's a good linebacker. Oh, you know what? There we go. Eli. We can go after him. There we go. That's a more of a move tight end, right? So, Joker tight end. That's great. Okay. This is working out. Manon guy. He's pretty good. Raheem Sanders is also interesting. Big dude. I think he's 6'3", like 230, but former wide receiver. Okay. You know what? I think I'll go with Raheem Sanders. Why not? We have plenty of picks left, right? Yeah, we got a lot. Nope. Huh. You know what? That's actually a good pick. Even though he's again, like I said, he might be a tight end, but he's basically a wide receiver. Right? It's almost entirely where he lines up is out wide for Syracuse. Yeah, I think we can take Jonah this time. Take somebody who can play some center and guard and tackle. Okay, so we've basically got everything. We could probably start talking about another tackle prospect. Probably can talk about another corner. D tackles. Oh, Aeneas. Yeah, boom. Maybe a pure linebacker as well. Where are we at? He's pretty good. Let's take a look. Oh, and Tommy Hill way down here. Jeez. And Ricky White. We can fill up this. We can fill this up real quick. I think I'm gonna go David. Bigger safety now that I think about it. Catalan. Nope. These guys are pretty good too. All right, let's take a look at offensive tackles. Holland Pierce, thank you very much. Oh, Micah Pettis is still on the board. Oh, Xavier Truss. I'm going with, yeah, Micah Pettis. We're overdoing it at this point. This is just having fun. Just pointing out some guys. Oh, Brew McCoy's still out there. He's a decent wide receiver. Jalen Knoll, these guys. Anybody else to bring home? Oh, Tommy Hill. Tommy Hill could probably be, I mean, arguably could be in the 3rd round, depending on who you ask. That's crazy. But that being said, a lot of these guys that I'm pointing out really towards the bottom, if they have another year of eligibility, they're probably coming back, guys. So just keep that in mind. Holland Pierce, I think, has to come out. I'm not sure about Micah Pettis. Tommy Hill, I think, has another year. He might go back if he's really being told he's like a day 3 pick. Now, unlikely just because of the number of picks, right? But trading back, if you can get me a Miko Buka and we pick up, who did we get off that, right? Jihad Campbell. Yeah. Again, this is just for fun. Assuming this draft class holds up, it was harder to make a decision, not like just to pick on who was the best available at that point. You know what's crazy though is that I can like almost come up with a way to like all these picks to justify every single one of them. I mean the numbers, right? Like gotta get a wide receiver, Mika. I don't know if he's like a true alpha 1, but he's a solid starting wide receiver. Cam Williams need help on the offensive line. Tackles, plays right now, but still very young, could be developed into either side. And if he's better than Caden Wallace at right tackle, guess what? Boom, you got it. Jihad Campbell, linebacker help, edge rush capability. Trey Amos, solid second corner. Already went over Watts and his use. Birch or Membo, again, they have him at interior offensive line. He plays right tackle at Missouri, but can easily play a guard. Somebody goes down, or he can just honestly step in, try and challenge for that left guard position right out of the bat or right out of the gate. That's fine. Jordan Birch can play some interior D-line, but also plays great on the edge. I mean, he could be essentially a replacement for potentially Dietrich Wise. Sutton would probably be that legitimate edge rusher that we're missing right now, besides Keon White. Stowers, I would say possibly if, for example, Hooper doesn't come back. That's a good answer for him. Raheem Sanders, good third down back capacity. He's a big dude, so he's got some power, but he's good receiving back. He's former wide receiver. Gadsden, that would be your big wide receiver out of this bunch. Jonah picked him up because he can play some center, but he also plays guard, tackle. Peebles, heavy-handed interior defensive lineman, could be your quality replacement. David Bailey for edge. I'm not sure who he'd be his exact replacement for, but he plays linebacker, so I don't know. Somebody. Ox, if he's done. There you go. He's a replacement for Ox. Boom. Anybody else in here? Holland Pierce. Depth. Could probably... you know what? It's not that I don't want to... Trey Jacobs, he's done what he... He's not great, but he's actually been able... For what you're asking for a guy like that, he's done it right. Now, Holland Pierce would be kind of like your depth for left tackle. Micah Pettis would be depth at right tackle, and Tommy Hill would just be depth at corner. That would be just a value pick. If he doesn't, whatever. I mean, maybe he's just a special teams guy. Yeah, so anyway, that's it. I know I probably did a whole bunch of picks he didn't want me to do, or moves or whatever, and there's opinions about what we should do. We'll get to it, guys. It's going to happen. We have, we don't have anything coming up this next week, obviously, because it's an off bye week. We'll still do a draft next week. Maybe I'll try something else, maybe even more extremes. And of course, there's other draft simulators. And again, we don't know who's actually coming out and all the other variables that will make our discussions kind of void in a couple months here. But it's good to keep talking about it. If there's anything like some sort of hope you can get from this, like that first, I didn't trade anything there. I just let the simulator run. And I think I filled in most of our priorities with guys I think are, good picks. That first one was a solid mock draft. This last one being a little bit more ridiculous with the number of picks, but it showed you that, even down here you can get these guys are probably worth being on, even though they're way down here. Say the Patriots don't get offensive linemen in the first 2 rounds. Not that these guys are worth that at the same level, but they're not bad picks at that level of the draft. They're guys that could probably contend for at least a depth spot. Right? And I know the offensive line's not amazing, but what happens if you go and you get a legitimate guard in the first few rounds? Shore up that left guard position and develop some guys to tackle, right? So there's options. There's not going to be a rigid, we have to do this and that. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys like this content, please like and subscribe. As always, thanks for watching.